Up, everyone? Welcome to Mon Goals, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. I'm Mike. With me is Kevin Josh. The Hounds took it to Birmingham, but only had one goal to show for it. We're going to break it all down and preview what is to come. Let's go! Kev, are you done with your ice cream?
It is New Orleans style shaved ice. Thank you very much.
Excuse
Stand
me.
corrected.
Where did you get that?
My apartment complex, like every once in a while during the weekdays, they'll invite like a food truck to just park themselves right in the middle of the apartment complex, and which is pretty cool. And today it was like a New Orleans style shaved ice stuff. It was, oh my gosh, it was so good. Like I don't know, I assume it's this is the only second time I've ever had it, but the shaved ice, it like melts in your mouth but still stays formed, and oh man, it's so good.
My wife went to Hawaii a few years back to visit her sister, and she still raves about like authentic shaved ice. And she keeps claiming every time I try to have one, she's like, "No, like it's not as good. Like you got to get perfectly shaved ice."
I mean, this was better than like ice cream. Like on a hot day, like this just, yeah, it nails the spot. It's really good.
I'm just realizing food trucks are kind of like adult ice cream trucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you see a food truck come up, you're like, all right, let's go. Food truck's here.
Yep.
There's a big plot of land out here in Ligonier that the township is looking to repurpose, and I was like, they want to use it for a bunch of different stuff, but there's also going to be a parking lot. I'm like, you could literally just have like food truck nights and just like have them show up, and like everybody shows up, and they could try different things, and like it would be great. And so I think they're entertaining that idea, and we'll see what happens because we don't have enough of that out
tailgate
here.
zone. Just so you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got to get that little plug in there. Yeah, thanks, Josh. Kev, when you started saying that, it just made me think of, was it The Office that had, was it Pretzel Day or Cookie Day? There was like one day a year where like they had in the office, it was Pretzel Day.
I
You would
think
go
it
down
was
and get
pretzel
a pretzel
day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I could think of. Josh, how are you feeling?
I feel a little bit better. I still have a slight cough and congestion going on. I got sick on like Friday, and I've tested negative for COVID like 3 times now. So far so good, but we'll find out. Guess it could take a couple of days. So still waiting to find out, but I'm hoping to feel better before Thursday because I'm supposed to go on a trip. This feels very reminiscent to the story that you gave.
Very reminiscent.
Yeah,
Yes.
So not feeling good about those chances about that trip to Boston. So we'll see.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for you for sure. So like this weekend, you just like lay around and watch a bunch of stuff?
Yeah, pretty much just like, oh, Saturday soccer's on all day. This is perfect time to just veg out on the couch and feel grumpy and sad because I'm sick and watch a bunch of soccer.
I say Everton won again, right?
Yeah. And it was awesome win, and it was needed. We're no longer in relegation right now, so that's fantastic. I even went upstairs, grabbed my record of Sing the Blues. Or wait, I forget the name of the album. Essentially, it's a song that Everton plays all the time. And I bought it for like some charity thing. And now I just popped that on as soon as they won and listened to an Everton song and felt really good about myself for, about 5 minutes of Everton actually not completely sucking. So that's good.
I got to say, today was not the first time that you tweeted out about the what was the name of the cartoon when we were kids that it was like the crossover with all of the different animated characters?
Oh, I always forget the name of the cartoon, but it was a drug special, like a anti-drug special.
Yeah.
And they had all the Saturday morning cartoon characters come together to stop some kid and his sister from doing drugs. And it is ridiculous. It's like Slimer and Alvin and Chipmunks and the Muppet Babies and
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, Ninja Turtles. It's
Alf
everyone.
And yeah.
And it was so weird. I remember watching as a kid being like just amazed. Like, they can do this? They can have all these characters together? So it was my little multiverse of madness tweet today.
Yes. I remember watching that as a kid, and I think the novelty of it hadn't quite hit me yet. I was just like, why don't they do this all the time? Like, why doesn't Slimer hang out with the turtles and Alf? Like, that would totally be awesome. And then you realize as you get older, like, no, that never happens, like, ever. Like, that would be like Mickey Mouse hanging out with Bugs Bunny. Like, just not gonna happen. So Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that. You'd mentioned it once before on Twitter, and I meant to say something to you, and then I completely forgot. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else going on, guys, in your life before we like talk about soccer? I feel like I always tend to enjoy like just the random banter more than I like our actual soccer talk. So,
It's the part
Especially
that
if
I'm worst
it's
at. Yeah.
it's a bad game, then especially. But I'm
it's
actually
right.
like, this is a so game, so I'm not too
I
upset
think
about
it's a
talking about
great
this game.
game. I'm
Well,
ready. I'm ready to talk about it.
I think Josh is ready to just crack open the victory beverage. So, Josh, why don't you go ahead and crack open the victory beverage, and then there we go. And
It's
we will.
Not to steal your
It's a-
thunder, but I'm also
ginger
there
ale
with you.
because I
Yeah.
don't feel good. But
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Kev's drinking the victory
so.
victory
oh,
beverage.
victory
There you go.
beverage and a
Yeah.
ginger ale. Okay.
Good. Well, guys, so the Hounds, we'll talk about the game. Let's talk about the game. Hounds beat Birmingham 1-0, as we mentioned in the opening. The game felt like it could have easily been like 4 or 5-0, which we'll get into. Danny Griffin scored in the 4th minute, at which point you're just like, this is going to just, the floodgates are just going to open and this is going to be great. But that was not what happened. So let's dive right into some takeaways. Josh, you got to watch soccer all day. What was your thought watching this one?
I mean, after that goal, and you just kind of felt like this was going to be maybe the floodgates opening back up again, and it was going to be another, home stomping like it was against Atlanta, and it felt like it could have been, it should have been the whole time. Like, oh, that could have been. Oh, okay, cool. No goal there, and I will say I'm just happy it didn't come and bite us in the ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like going goal after goal or opportunity after opportunity and missing them. I was really worried that at the last minute, Birmingham were going to sneak one in and it was going to, be a draw. And I was just going to be really upset. So it's 3 points,
Yeah.
I can't really complain in the end if it's 3 points, but man, we dodged a bullet, I think.
I don't know if it's just that, we've been watching the team for so long, but there was another game this season where I said it felt the exact same way, where it was just like, we're up 1-0. We're comfortably dominating in pretty much every category of the game, but you're still like, the tying goal's coming. Like, it's coming. Just brace yourself for it. And I don't know. Kev, did you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean it felt like the tying goal was coming. And like Josh said, I think so many times these situations and scenarios where when you don't capitalize when you're on top, it comes back to bite you in the butt and you end up with a draw when you don't deserve it. And the fact that didn't happen this game, I mean, it also didn't, I don't know, it when we got the goal, it didn't feel like the mentality changed at all. Where I think in a vacuum, in an ideal scenario, when you score a goal, you, in my opinion, like almost just want to immediately forget about it and just keep playing like quote unquote the right way that you want to play. Like every game you have a way that you want to attack the opposition that will create you chances. And then once you're in front of those chances, look, if you take them or you don't take them, that's kind of like, shooters hit 30% of the shots. Okay, so we were just bad that day, but we created so many chances, and that's what I think is so encouraging because, like, that's what's repeatable. A one-on-one with the keeper, sometimes you're not going to slot it, and that's kind of down to whatever. But the fact that we created so many chances and it didn't let us get frustrated. I don't know. We didn't look frustrated to me. We didn't look shaky. We didn't look nervous. We just looked really professional. And I think after what happened in Louisville, that was one of the things on my mind of like, is this a ruthless professional, championship team that can, just be steady and solid and get through potentially shaky moments throughout a season and throughout games. And look, Birmingham's good, and we were able to create as many chances that we did. I thought we looked far the better team and got an important 3 points. I thought it was a really good game. We're not gonna win every game. When we're that better than a team, we're not gonna win every game 3-0. We might even lose some games where we're still that much better of a team. So the fact that we were able to come out and win 1-0, I think was still just a really positive sign.
Yeah. We mentioned Danny Griffin got the goal. He was playing in a much further advanced position. He seemed to have, a really good game. I didn't realize that was his first goal ever at Highmark. Steve caught up with him immediately after the game. Let's see what they had to say.
First goal of the season, tell me about that. What was going through your mind?
Felt great. It's my first goal at Highmark Stadium too, so to have it with this crowd, with the Steel Army in the back, on this side, it was a great experience and an amazing feeling for me, get the season started.
That was awesome. You were playing in a more advanced role tonight, so tell me what your thoughts were when Coach told you were playing farther up. It was great to see from the stands. You were involved in a lot of things offensively, so how was that for you tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I played higher up the pitch in college and a little bit my first year here, so I knew doing the job in the midfield, whether higher or lower in the midfield, which is, just good to get on the ball underneath Dikwa. You have a good relationship with him, Kenny, Mark in the midfield, so it was a good performance overall from the midfield and the whole team overall, getting a clean sheet and getting 3 points at home.
Yeah, and Kenny came off and you got the armband at the end, huh?
Yeah.
All right, man, congratulations. Great shot.
Thank you, guys.
So great stuff from Danny.
Great stuff from Steve too.
Great stuff from Steve too. Yeah, that was awesome. This is one of those things that you're gonna likely be seeing more of. Is Steve interviewing players, Steve getting shots at the games, Steve potentially going to practice and things like that. So stay tuned. We might drop some into the show like this. We might create some separate videos and just upload them and let you guys know when they're there, because it's all just really, really good stuff. So thanks, Steve, for that. But yeah, the whole like inverted midfield in a way, I think, was one of the big talking points of the night. When everybody lined up, you could see that Kenny was sitting a lot deeper and Danny was pushed further up the field. And it was sort of Kenny and Marky Barra were sort of the holding mids. Danny was further up, which typically it's Danny and Marky Barra the holding mids and Kenny's further up. And so it was interesting. I think the decision behind that sort of came down to wanting to cut off that first pass out of Birmingham's D. That seemed to be what Danny was doing a lot more effectively. I think that Kenny can maybe pull the strings a little bit more offensively, and Danny was sort of there to make some interceptions. Kevin, you're sort of like laughing.
Right? Are you saying Kenny just doesn't have the legs anymore, Mike?
That is not what I'm saying at
That's
all.
That's what I'm saying.
Ooh.
Okay. I don't know how to like follow that.
Yeah, I just remember. I will never.
Let's welcome Kenny to the call. Hey,
I'll never forget that until the day Kenny retires. I just remember watching a game, and Lily was yelling at Kenny to close someone down, and immediately Kenny just looks around and like finds Griffin and tells him to switch positions with him. He's like, "You go over there."
I do remember that from last year. But yeah, I mean, look, Danny is turning into. We've always sort of known that he's been sort of one of those all-around players. But when you sort of look at Lily guys, this is Danny's third year in the system. He definitely feels like the next Kenny in a lot of ways. He sort of wears whatever hat that Lily asks him to wear, and he steps in and he does a job and does it effectively and got the goal here. I think Cicerone was a little. Not confused, but I think he thought the ball was going to fall to him, and Danny just sort of like took it, turned, and shot. And so, yeah,
I think that's why it went in. Really, I think if Cicerone actually would have connected it, it was expected.
That was what was predicted. Yeah,
and I think almost the keeper was almost ready for it. Defenders were almost ready for it. So the fact that like everything was just delayed by like a second and a half. Everyone kind of had to catch themselves, and it gave Danny the opportunity.
Yeah.
How much did this game change with not having Kelly on the field? Like, I felt like for how many chances we had and how many, like, it did feel like even though we didn't get, the goals we should have gotten, it still felt like we were a dominant team. And it's amazing to think how dominant we did look when one of our key players that has been such instrumental player this season was not on the field. And like, I don't think we missed him in this game. Like, I don't know if the game would have changed that much as far as goals. I mean, he's probably going to put one of those away. Just saying.
Yeah.
But
we had a couple shots that were sort of right at the keeper. I think Dixon had one. Argudo had one right at the keeper. Dikwa, I just assumed the ball was in the net, and the keeper made an incredible save. Like, basically, the ball falls on Dikwa's foot 8 yards out, and Deke was ready to literally top shelf it, like not even make it easy for the keeper. and somehow the keeper dives and save. I mean, that's got to be save of the week. If it's not, I shouldn't say that because I know that all of this is a popularity contest and whatever team has the biggest fan base is the one that ends up winning. But regardless, that should be save of the week. So I mean, maybe Kelly slots one of those away.
I think he does.
Yeah,
I don't think necessarily. Yeah, I mean, for me, the important thing in his absence is that we still created that many chances. I agree with both of you. I think he puts one of them away, and this game ends up 2-0. But just because I think that's Kelly's best attribute is he's just clinical. I think it's underrated, the skill of being really good at shooting, and and Kelly is really good at shooting, it was really encouraging. I think when the red card goes up in Louisville, it's like, oh, come on, like anyone but him. But then you remember that we can play, Dequa, Cicerone, and Dixon, and you're like, oh yeah, we're all right.
Lots of comments coming in the chat right now. Just saying Kelly scores. Like I think a lot of people agree with you, Kev. I think he puts one of those away. So
and Josh and you.
Yeah.
So Steve says he puts 6 away, but
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, sure.
I noticed. Sorry, Mike. I noticed in the stats that we get 8 shots on target. I'm surprised this doesn't register from memory, but Birmingham didn't get any shots on target?
No shots on target.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember
it feels like they put pressure on it. Yeah, sorry.
Watching through the game, I actually made a comment when I was tweeting things out that I thought that Silva in goal looked really good, and then to go back and be like, oh, he didn't face any shots. Maybe that's why. But I do think, to his credit, he did take charge a lot in the back. He seemed to be directing play a lot in the back. He was professional. I think the announcers made the comment of like, a good defensive midfielder, they're doing a good job when you don't have to say their name that much. And that was the case with Silva. He was just getting the job done. And there was, I know when there's no shots. I know. But no, I mean, there were set pieces and things that he had to come out and make saves on. They just weren't like one-on-one blasts on target
or whatever. Yeah.
And there was one play that stood out to me, and whether it was a fluke or not, towards the end of the game when the guys were trying to kill off some time, he punted the ball. And a lot of times the Hounds keepers are known for punting it out of bounds or somewhere where it shouldn't go, and he put it super deep in the Birmingham zone and out for a throw-in. So like the way he placed it was like perfect. It didn't go out for a goal kick. It went out for a throw in. They had to jog back. They had to pick it up. They had to reset in their own zone. And so, maybe this was his coming out party to like stake a claim as the number one. But at this point, it still feels like Lily's got a rotation. I don't know. What were your thoughts on Silver? Do you think he did enough to start again next week? Or do you think that Lily's still going to rotate?
Yeah, I mean...
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh.
Okay. Here's the thing. It's with not any shots on goal. Like he did some good stuff, but there wasn't much there to kind of make your mark. He didn't get in the way and he did what he needed to do, which is great. But is that enough to actually get you a starting position? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be. I feel like with Lily, it's a lot more about what you do in between games, how you are to practice and all that kind of stuff that we're not seeing, that he chooses to pick his keeper based off of, not the last game.
Yeah. Kev?
Yeah, no, completely agree. I mean, I think what he could do in the game, he did well. Like you mentioned, Mike, coming out and claiming crosses and punching balls. But I mean, and a lot of it also, and like Josh mentioned, maybe this gets kind of shaked out and figured out in training midweek. But I would guess a lot of it goes to what the defenders and center backs feel more comfortable with. Like who can they feel like if they're under pressure, I'll drop it back to Silva, and I'm fine there. Or if I just need to shepherd a guy down the line and give him an off-angle shot, I know I can do that because I can trust my keeper back there. So I mean, we'll see. I'm still so far this season. I don't know. I mean, in seasons gone by, I feel like it's around this time he starts to commit to one keeper. I feel like there's always a point in the season where the rotation kind of stops and one keeper kind of gets picked. I don't know if we're there yet, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't feel strongly about either keeper just yet.
And I also don't feel like we've had 3 keepers that were part of that rotation to this point either. And in this case, all 3 have sort of made cases at one point or another to be the guy. So it will be interesting to see how Lily manages this, because we've talked about this before, especially with keepers. It seems to be a much larger psychological component to their game than potentially other positions on the field. Primarily because you have so few chances to make an impact. Whereas if you're somebody like Kenny, you're going to touch the ball 20, 30 times and you screw one up. Okay, I'm going to get it back and, fix it. And like, if you screw something up as a keeper, it's a goal for the other team. And that's harder to come back from. So it will be interesting to see sort of how Lily manages that. One player for me that's turning into a sort of a must start is Dos Santos. I think that him on the wing, he's just I remember seeing him in the first game and I was like, he seems a little green. Like, all right, great. Like, we'll give him a shot. He'll probably come off the bench. But, in a game where we're playing against a Tommy V and a Ryan James who don't, show up till later, we'll talk about that. He's starting to feel a bit like one of those players, especially after you saw Lily use him as sort of a center back earlier this season. It feels like you can try to plug him in different places, like we did with Rovira, over the past few years, like a Ryan James, like a Tommy V. So, just hoping to see more of him. It was his cross that ultimately led to Griffin's goal, and he was active all night doing great things. So, does anyone disagree with me on that?
No, I think
No?
Dos Santos is great. I think he's emerging as when he wasn't one of the first clear fullbacks either, right? I mean, it was like we had
Sims, Dambrot,
Sims, and all Rivera. I think started the season out there, although now I don't want to see him anywhere but the midfield because I think he's so good in the midfield. But no, I think Dos Santos is great.
Yeah. Speaking of, Tommy V and Ryan James, first of all, I was a bit egreged that, these are 2 players that we revered when they were here. And to see them sit on the bench for this Birmingham team that we so handily dominated, it was kind of like, seriously, like these guys can't get on the field for you. And sure enough, they got in late in the game. Tuffy tweeted out this picture where it's him and Lily laughing and shaking hands with both James and Tommy V. And it says the only thing wrong with this picture is the kit's being worn. So it seems like they left on good terms. Everybody's smiling and seems to be happy in the picture. It's just a shame. There was another shot of, I think it was James and Danny Griffin hugging it out afterwards. It's just like, oh, guys, you're killing me. Like, you could have still been here.
All right. Another question, though.
Okay.
This team that we have right now.
Here we go.
Do those players rank as high in this team as they did in the previous teams that they were part of for us? Like, we say this a lot, especially this season, especially. This is the best team we've seen the Hounds field.
So for me, I think Ryan James. This is gonna sound. I love all the players. I love all the players.
You're gonna say he's old. You're gonna say he's old.
He's lost the step. He's like Kenny. That's what you're saying, right?
No. I was gonna say I think Ryan James is essentially a slightly better version of Rivera at this point. I think Ryan James can play. I think him in the midfield along with Griffin would probably be better. If you're not just going to play midfield 2 with Griffin and Kenny, Ryan James is probably better than anyone else we can partner Griffin with in the midfield. He is, based off of that comment, Mike, what you said, Although, I mean, Dos Santos is now a left back, and Ryan James was a left back. I don't know how much. I'm sure. I feel like Ryan James started every position at one point last year for us, including goalkeeper. But I feel like Ryan James could probably play right back. He's just an incredibly good all around player that I think would be slight upgrades to one or two different players that somewhat regularly get in our starting 11. Funky Azil is a different thing because usually we play a back three with him in the middle. In this game, we don't do that. There have been a few games where in the past where we haven't done that. And I'm not against teams that maybe don't have a lot of height. I don't really have a problem with him being a second center back partnering like Ordonez or something. But I don't know if I'd want to see a full season with him as one of two center backs. I like the height and physicality aspects of it. And, I don't know. Look, I mean, they'd be great to have in the squad, but I get what you're saying, Josh. Like, based off of how we're playing this year and how we're setting it up, it's not immediately obvious how they kind of snap in.
So the argument, Kev, it sounds like you're making is that it's not that these guys aren't good enough to be in the team, but potentially the system has changed so that their skill set doesn't necessarily fit into the system that we're playing.
Yeah, I mean, Bonky Azil, when he was here, I would say in a lot of ways he's like Griffin this season and last season. Bonky Azil was first name on the team sheet. I mean, he played so many minutes for us, but it was in usually a back three with him in the center of a back three. So, and I know earlier in his Riverhounds career, he played a little bit of midfield, and I'm sure he could do that again. But once again, he's playing that position not like Ryan James or Danny Griffin or Kenny would play a midfield position. He is a true, anchor defensive midfielder breaking up plays. Yeah. So, and whether or not, my hunch is, I mean, Lily would find a way to get them in, but whether or not that sacrifices what we like so much about this team, it's a good point.
I think for me, if we're playing a back three, then Tommy V is an easy start in that back three. I think your point about playing a back two is warranted. That if we're going to play a system where you have, basically a back four, then does it make sense to have a Tommy V in there? But, if you're giving me the option of, and this is no disrespect to these guys, but like a Tommy V or like a Shane Wheat, like I'm going to take a Tommy V in terms of distribution out of that.
In a back three, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think I'd play Ryan James anywhere.
Well, that was I was going to say, like, Ryan James for me is sort of the other wild card. I think you use a Ryan James the same way that you use a Rivera, or you potentially use an Alex Dixon, where not so much from an attacking standpoint, but, to have a Ryan James that you can plug into the midfield late in games, or, the question becomes, does he start? Do you start a Ryan James over like a Mark Ibarra? I think it depends on system, and Kev, you're shaking your head. I think it depends on what I think it depends on what you're trying to do. And I don't know
That's
if they're
insulting to Ryan James.
I don't know. But their games,
Mike, there was games last when Ryan James was in the team where it was just like,
oh no, listen,
he was just like, just go play and win the game for us. And he did.
I don't
like. From
this
left
in no
back.
way is me knocking Ryan James. This is
Ryan James get 2 goals, 2 assists in a game at left back.
But what they're on the field to do, I feel like, is different. Like, I feel like Ibarra's not put on the field to go make make offense happen. Like, Ryan James was on the field and making offense happen. Like, you put in Ibarra to play as a holding mid, to play not even box to box, but your job is to get the ball and get it to a Danny Griffin.
But some players can do that while doing other things really well too. Like, if I gave you the option of playing two Danny Griffins, you probably would. Like, you would play a second Danny Griffin where Ibarra is, knowing that, but Griffin can do that too. And I think that's just the argument for Ryan James I would have in my head. Yeah.
I mean, but so look, you talk about how they're Ryan James, Tommy V, Rivera, Griffin, Kenny. These guys are so versatile. Can you imagine a midfield with those five? And
Oh, I
like
know.
it
Yeah.
would be constant interchanging.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your head would explode trying to keep
It'd be
track
great.
of where all of these guys are because they can play anywhere. Dixon is in there too. Like
Oh,
going
yeah,
from
Dixon. Oh, yeah.
just yeah.
I think.
so-
I mean, I can't say this enough. Before I forget, Dixon is one of the most, I think, like talented players I've seen in a Hounds jersey. Like I'm just constantly impressed by his athleticism, his technique, his vision, his kind of intelligence with how he moves, and he's incredible.
Yeah. He's set to become a dad soon if it hasn't already happened. We need to reach out and see how everything's going. But when he joined us this season or earlier in the preseason, he was saying I think it was May. So fingers crossed, Alex. Hope all goes well.
By the way, I think Ryan James and Tommy V would totally start on our team. I didn't answer my own question, but yeah.
Well, how do you think? Okay, given in the Birmingham game, I think we all agreed that okay, you can pretty much just play Ryan James anywhere. Where would you Would you play? Who would you swap out for Vanke Azil?
But here's the thing: Bob builds his system based off of the pieces he has. I feel like a lot of people are looking at it the other way around. It's like, oh, well, he built this team in a certain way, so he needs these players. No, he gets the pieces and he goes, all right, what do I got? And then he builds the team based off that, or he builds the system based off that.
I guess we're going to be attacking this year. Yeah.
I honestly think that's what happens. I think the reason why he is so versatile or so good as a coach because he is versatile and he sees what pieces he has. He sees their strengths and he's like, all right, this is what we're going to do with this. So it's not so much about, a 1-for-1 swap out. It's just like he's going to change the formation of this team to fit around the strengths that a Ryan James and a Tommy V bring us. So, yeah, that's I feel like he just knows how to use them in ways that, benefits the whole team. Whereas Birmingham, obviously, they see what they have. They're like, well, we don't need those pieces right now. So they're just not using them. Yeah. Where Bob would probably just completely change the whole system so he could use them.
Yeah.
If we were forced to stay in this system, Kev, I could see a case where you swap Ibarra and Tommy V and you take out Biasi and you figure out a way to get in James. And I think those are just from a skill set. And again, that's no knock on those other two players, but that's just a skill set upgrade at that point. And, Tommy V and Ryan James both left Pittsburgh and hopefully made pay dirt because, they're that good. And so it's just, both Ibarra and Biasi, this is their first crack at this. So they've just got a little bit more time to develop and see where they end up. So, yeah, good question, Josh. Guys, anything else? The one other thing that I wanted to bring up was just that part of me feels for Cicerone. You could tell that there are times that he's frustrated and he just desperately wants to get a goal and he'll try to take on 4 players to make it happen. And he comes so close to pulling it off, but it's happened the past few games. He's really, really just pushing for it. And one of the other clips that Steve sent us was in the high five line afterwards. And somebody said I thought you were going to get that goal. And he almost got dead serious. And he was like, I'm working on it. You could tell he's pushing for it. He wants it so bad, and he's just trying to make magic happen. And it's gonna happen. But I think that there are times like that where I think the announcers made the comment of there were moments in this game where it almost felt like backyard soccer, where you could tell that the Hounds were like, okay, whose turn is it to get the goal? And just everybody pushes the net to try to get the goal. And I think a lot of times that was a case where Cicerone would get the ball and he's like, it's my turn. And let me beat these 3 guys and make it happen. So yeah, I feel for him.
Yeah, I guess a couple other things. I don't know. We get 9 corners in this game, and we've been pretty good this season with corners. And so I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't get anything in the Louisville game. Cincy is a whole different beast, and none here. But
nothing in Vegas either.
Yeah, nothing in Vegas. I feel like we started the season with, Dequo was getting headers. Kelly was obviously getting headers. I feel like Dixon at some point. And so we started the season off, pretty well in set pieces, and we haven't had one in a while. And so, I mean, it's not concerning. It's just a point to point out. I mean, 9 corners in a game is nothing to kind of sniff at.
I mean, that's probably going to be my last question for you guys as it relates to the game. And if there's other stuff you guys want to talk about, obviously we can talk about it. But we had 8 shots on target, and Kev, your point, 9 corners, and we had 1 goal. Are either of you concerned about that?
Not really.
Yeah. If this was a trend, yes, but it's not. Like, we've been scoring goals, and granted, we didn't score goals.
I was gonna say Vegas
better than us,
Louisville.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's more of a concern because weren't producing. If anything, this was a step forward because we were actually producing opportunities. We weren't putting them away, which is a problem, but it's a better problem to have than not producing opportunities, which is what we saw at some other games. So it's hard to be too concerned when you're taking steps forward and not backwards.
Fair enough.
Yeah, same.
Okay. I don't think I'm concerned. I think, in previous seasons, we'd be complaining that we weren't generating the chances. So, like, we're generating the chances. They just didn't go in. So, I agree with you, Josh. I think if this becomes a trend where, we're getting 9-10 shots on target and only getting a goal, then it's like, oh, maybe we need to work on some target practice here, guys. But yeah.
I mean, in a way, I'd prefer 8 shots on target and creating a lot more chances, or creating a lot of chances and scoring 1 goal than having 2 chances and we put both of them away. Like, creating a lot of chances, I think, is the most encouraging part, and that's what we're seeing.
It feels like we're whining when we had 8 shots on target and Birmingham had none.
I know, yeah. That's amazing. And I guess maybe one more point. I think we've talked a little bit. I mean, there's nothing. This isn't necessarily a comment about like the progress of our team, but okay, so we have 9 corners, they have 4, and there's a total of 30 fouls in the game. It's just like, man, like nothing really flowed in this game. Like, it's everything is still very kind of stop-start. I mean, our pass accuracy didn't get above 70%. You can tell. There are not every episode I pull up the stats. This episode I definitely pull up the stats, and I'm just constantly referring to every one that I can look at. But yeah, I mean, when there's 30 stoppages of play because of fouls, and 12 stoppages of play up for corners, more for offsides and everything. I mean, it is a pretty choppy game. But so I don't know if that's. I don't really have a comment about whether or not that's good or bad. It's just, I think it was just an interesting thing maybe to point out, because sometimes it feels frustrating when I can't put my finger on why watching a game feels frustrating. And maybe I'm kind of figuring out in real time. Maybe it's that.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Anyway.
No one got a red, so that's great.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No one got a red. Yeah, and so we'll have Dane back for the next game. Speaking of, guys, looking ahead, we sort of, I think, alluded to it last week. The refs sort of kept alluding to it the announcers kept alluding to it during the game. The Hounds now go on a bit of a tougher stretch. We say tougher. I think a lot of this is sort of the teams mostly in name, and when we actually get to them, it might not be as tough as it looks on paper. But we start with El Paso at home this week, and we're going to talk about them in depth here in a second. But then we hit the road to face the Rowdies. We hit the road to face Miami, and then we basically kick off June with Detroit coming to town, which Detroit are currently sitting in 3rd right behind us. But we're not looking at the standings, so I don't know how I know that. But yeah, so I mean, it's good to get these 3 points. It's good to get sort of back on the horse, and hopefully we can just sort of keep riding this thing. Let's start with El Paso. So just to sort of paint
quickly, I mean, as you're talking about El Paso,
yeah.
I mean, the Kelly red card was a straight red, so he might miss this game too. I think it's, if you get a straight red, you're out for 2 games. If you get 2 yellows, which equate to a red, then that's only 1. But so Kelly might be out for this game too.
Well, that wouldn't be good, but yeah, we'll have to follow up on that. just to sort of paint a picture, so El Paso obviously plays in the Western Conference. So this is another case where we're having East play West. So we try to look for as many comparisons as we can to try to get an idea of what to potentially expect. El Paso is currently on a 3-game winning streak. They beat both Loudoun and Tulsa 3-1, and then they beat LA Galaxy 2-4-0. So they're coming in hot. We have played similar teams so far this season. We both played Vegas. They lost to Vegas 4-5. We lost to Vegas 1-0. And we both paid Loudoun. They beat Loudoun 3-1. We won 2-0. So not a ton you could take away there. We both played Vegas and lost. We both played Loudoun and won. They are currently leading the league with 24 goals. And, for comparison, we have 17 on the season. So they have 7 more goals. They've only played 1 more game than us. So that's pretty substantial, especially considering earlier this season, we were like, we're going to be scoring at will. Well, they actually are. They got 24. But they've given up twice as many goals as we have. So we've only given up 8 goals this season. They've given up 17. So they're giving almost up, 1.7 goals a game at this point. So, you got to expect the Hounds are going to get at least a few. Their passing accuracy is off the chart, 85%. They're leading the league in distribution as well. We're at 75%. So they move the ball really well. But they also have twice as many yellow cards as we do. They have 35 to our 16. So, what can you take away from this? One, they score a lot of goals and they move the ball really well, but they also pick up a lot of fouls. So, and they give up a lot of goals too. So, based on all of that, it is going to be at Highmark. So I think we have the advantage there of not having to go out west and play in El Paso, which is great. I think that sort of bit us in Vegas, not because of going to Vegas, but because of the situation with the field and all the other variables that aren't going to be an issue this week because we will be at Highmark. Josh, how are you feeling about this game? Are you confident?
Yeah, actually. Hearing all those stats and like how they seem to be playing, it kind of reminds me of a Red Bulls 2 situation. High scoring, but also pretty lax in defense. They have that system going for them. And I like our chances against a team like that, especially with a Lily tactical type side where he can, find that weakness in it. If they have a style that they're playing, he can usually figure out that style and how to break it down if they're not that versatile. So I feel like we should be okay. Maybe it's, wishful thinking. We'll find out. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this, actually.
Kev, how are you feeling?
Yeah, much like the same. I think the big, I don't know. I never know how much to play into the travel aspect of like East-West Coast travel. It feels more significant, obviously, like in U.S. leagues than European leagues because, the furthest travel was like 6 hours in England or something, whereas here it's very different. So I don't know, but the fact that we're still unbeaten at home this season. Generally, Lily has quite a good record at Highmark. So yeah, no, I think it'll be a good game. I'm always really excited to see teams we don't usually play, and this will be no different. But yeah, I feel confident.
Agreed. I'm feeling good. I think especially, to sort of get this win back, to get the guys' confidence flowing, I think to generate the chances that we did. I do think it will be very interesting. I think the first 15 minutes might be one of those feeling out periods, like try to see who's going to do what, because Lily's going to talk about how they score a lot of goals, and El Paso is going to talk about sort of how our midfield likes the free flow and how do you keep tabs on that. So you might see a lot of midfield battles and not a lot getting into each other's 18. But I do think it's going to be interesting, and I do like our chances at Highmark. What do you guys think? I'd say a score prediction. It feels like a total crap shot here, but maybe do we just say, we're all saying we feel good. Do you think this is going to be a high scoring game or a low scoring game?
I'm actually a little bit if it's a high scoring game, I don't think that's good for us. Like I feel like if there's going to be some, goals after goals, it's probably going to be a little bit too loose, and that's going to play into their hands. So I would like to see a more tight game where this is like, well, I don't want to say another game like it was last weekend, but a very low scoring, maybe 2-1, maybe just 1-0. And then just briefly, I was curious what they did against the Las Vegas Lights. That game was 5-4. Vegas won.
Yeah.
And there was a red card for Vegas. What the hell happened?
The West is a totally different beast, man. Like,
That's crazy.
Yeah. There are teams that I see that play in the West. I'm like, those could be like MLS teams. And then you have teams like Vegas where I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like, what are we doing? So I think that's an interesting shout, that if it's high scoring, then that may not be in our favor. So 2-1. Kev, how you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, as we were kind of talking through this game, I had the highlights of them playing Tulsa kind of up, and I was kind of watching it off to the side. And I mean, I could tell you immediately, like, yeah, I am going to love hating this team because they just don't seem like a good character of people. And so it's gonna. I really want to, I'm looking forward to this game now even more. But I don't know. I mean, from some of the highlights that I'm watching, it's that their striker looks like he can put it away, and but so can we. So and they're at Highmark with the Steel Army and the fans. So no, yeah, I feel anytime we're at home, I feel confident. I'd feel confident playing Louisville at home at this point. So no, this will be no different.
Our buddy Fez, who has the UK River Hounds podcast, says 6-3 to the Hounds.
Yeah.
So he's a 9-goal score fest from Fez. Make sure you go check out his show and hear all of his thoughts heading into this one as well. Josh, I like your shout. I could see Lily going in and saying, let's just try to frustrate the crap out of them. Let's try to draw some fouls. Let's try to get maybe somebody sent off. And then you just sort of demoralize them and just try to capitalize on that. The distribution thing, I think, is interesting. I do think this will be a bit of a midfield battle, because if you've got, 24 goals and your distribution is at 85% passing accuracy, they can move the ball, but so can we. So there could be a lot of this like breakdown, interception, breakdown, startup, breakdown, interception, just back and forth. So this is a game that we can't sleep on. Like, I think this is going to be a fun one to watch for sure. So, yeah. So we've got. Go ahead.
No, one more thing. I'm trying to find this guy's name.
This is how Kevin does research: is during the show while we're talking about something else, not before. He
so Lignac. Am I saying that right? El Paso's
I don't know. You're the only one looking at it.
Number 9. So Lignac. Yeah, I hope someone does something to him, because he needs to go away. But so Lignac, they're number 9. Keep it out.
I feel like we need to disavow the fact that you just said that. Boy, let's look just a little bit further ahead, because I want to try to get your guys' sense on a like over under here. So we have this game. We all sort of said that we feel good. We think that there's a win in the cards here for us. After that, like I said, we hit the road to play the Rowdies. Now the Rowdies have struggled of late. They only have 1 point in their last 3 games, but we all know that Tampa has talent and that Tampa is gonna. Sorry, I'm like mid-thought here, and I see that Liz is in chat saying, did Kev just put out a hit? I think he did.
No. Hey, we just say Rivera likes to clatter into people. That's all I'm saying.
That's all he's saying.
Maybe Danny Earls is in the stands. We never know. So.
Just rushes the field mid-game. Maybe this is the game when we do like everyone else. We have the Hounds at the Hounds, and like somebody's dog gets loose on the field. And, anyway, so we hit the road to play the Rowdies. We know the Rowdies are a formidable team. Miami are sitting a little bit better. They've had 4 points in their last 3, but they most recently drew 0-0 with Birmingham. Now, we could have drawn 1-1 with Birmingham and still been the better team. So who actually knows what's going on with Miami? But we have those 2. And then, like I said, in just a few weeks, Detroit comes back to town, and they've been on a tear. They took 6 points in their last 3 games. They only have 1 loss since we last played them in Detroit. So Based on all of that, we got El Paso, we've got Tampa, we've got Miami, and we've got Detroit. We're talking a maximum of 12 points here. If I put the over under at 8.5, are you taking the over? Or are you taking the under, Kevin?
You always play.
8.5 is roughly 2 wins and 2 draws if you're taking the under.
I was going
If
to
we
say,
go-
I mean, you always place this at a very good spot, Michael. Good job.
I was a bookie in a former life.
No, probably the under. I mean, I think 2 wins and 2 draws sounds about right for this run of games that we have coming up. I think any more of that, and we're getting greedy. But we're a good team. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Birmingham was a good reaction, but Josh mentioned before about something else. About trends versus kind of one-offs, and so I think in this El Paso game, if we come out and play like we did against Birmingham and win 2-0, maybe we put the Louisville and Cincy and Vegas games out of our head and we move on. But 2 wins and 2 draws feels about right. So I guess I'll take the under.
Josh?
I don't like saying the under, but yes. I want to say the over. I just want to be overly confident, but it's going to be rough. It is going to be rough. No, because it's probably... I want to set expectations correctly here. And the under, I do feel like 2 wins, 2 draws, it would be...
It's great.
That would be great. Yeah, there's nothing to be said about that. That would be fantastic.
I'm going to take the over. I'm going to swing for it. I think we get the win against El Paso, and I think we get the win... Oh crap! See now,
right?
I know.
While you're thinking about that, I'm really looking forward to the Detroit game. I think that'll be
that's the one for me that I was originally like. I think we go to Tampa and I think we go to Miami and get 3 points in each of those. But to go away to Tampa and Miami, that's more
hard.
a wild card to me. I think we could do it. I think we absolutely can do it. But it's just like going down to Florida this time of year. And you just don't know what to expect with either one of those teams.
You might get COVID before you go down to Florida.
You might get COVID before you go to Florida this time of year and just ruin your whole trip. We're not jinxing anybody. Florida. We're just saying, it's not my favorite place. Anyway, I think I got to take the under. I think I'm with you guys. We can do the over. I think we absolutely can do the over. It's just like if we're playing it safe, I'll bet the under. And then
talked you into it.
Over. You did. You talked me into it. The Detroit game, Kev, I agree. I think the Detroit game is going to be like fireworks.
That'll be fun
because they're on.
That's one of the wins that I feel like is. Yeah,
I agree, but I just think it's going to be like a good game. It's. I feel more confident about the Detroit game than I do going away to the Florida teams. But
no, I think
just stay in Florida the whole week. Or do they fly back and fly? Like, that seems weird. Like, for it to be 2 Saturday games, not like a midweek game. Like, do you stay in Florida for a whole week?
Yeah, I mean, look, maybe it comes down to, like, what costs more. Like, flights, like round-trip flights to go back and go back down, or hotels for the week.
Right? I don't know.
I
think it might be cheaper to stay in Florida. You get the right Airbnb, you're fine.
I was gonna say get some of those like 10-person Airbnbs and just like make everyone stay in the same place.
It's fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Although, you got to figure out training.
Yeah. Well,
that's true.
You got to train midweek.
Yeah, they're not going to Disney midweek and just calling it. And then going to play Miami after that. So
can't do that.
Good point. Well, that's what we think. Let us know what you think, whether or not you're going to take the over and under. We had a couple comments in the chat.
They're going to say whether or not they're going to stay in Disney.
Whether or not they're going to stay in Disney. Let us know what you think.
Stay in Florida.
Guys, real quick, before we wrap this one up, we haven't talked to Premier League in like forever. Kev, it's coming down to the wire. Liverpool and Cincy. Or Liverpool and Cincy.
City.
There we go. Liverpool and City. City have Wolves, West Ham, and Villa left. Liverpool have Wolves, Southampton, and Villa left. So they both have Wolves and Villa. Liverpool play Villa tomorrow. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think City
and Liverpool's 3 points back on
Yeah.
City. So they
Wolves
need
all the
City
way.
to lose, and Liverpool needs to win.
Yeah. So yeah, City need to lose one of their games. I think we have them on goal differential, and we would have to win out. No, I mean, City are an incredible team. The edge is obviously them. Is it possible? Of course. I think Wolves have a decent track record from memory against City. And nothing like Stevie G doing us a favor on the last game of the season. So
listen, a lot of Villa fans are talking about how they would love nothing more than to keep City from winning it because of Jack Grealish. Like how sweet it would be for Grealish to leave Villa, go to City, and then Villa be the ones to keep him from winning a title.
Yeah.
So
no, it's possible. No, so I don't feel confident about the Premier League. But it'll be FA Cup will be interesting. Champions League will be interesting. But no, I mean, in the numbers, I'm gonna get it slightly off here, but some commentator pointed out a statistic that I think it was since whoever came into the league later. I think it was Klopp, but I could be wrong. Since either Klopp or Pep, entered the Premier League while the other one was already there, and if you started looking at totals since at that point, they both like one has 395 points, the other has 394 points. It's ridiculous just how close this City team and the Liverpool team have been over the past 3 years, and it's going to happen again. I mean, it's on a couple occasions they finish a point apart from each other to decide the title. So it's been really fun to watch, and and I think I also I don't know, in the current climate of things, maybe this is just my own world, my own head. There have been title races and rivalries in the past, the likes of Mourinho versus anyone, but it was Mourinho versus
because nobody
whatever.
likes Mourinho.
Exactly. Well, I mean, in Ferguson against Wenger. Now, I wasn't completely aware of what was happening back then, but you have these rivalries where the managers just don't like each other, and to see Klopp and Guardiola just they give each other big high fives and slaps on the back, and they're chatting and they're smiling, and they obviously respect the hell out of each other, and yeah, I mean, I respect Pep. I respect what he does with City, and so I feel good about it. But no, I think City have it.
I'm just
Josh,
thinking about how much both of them get paid. Yeah, of course they like it.
Yeah.
Woo, paycheck. Yeah. Respect. I mean, yeah, they respect each other. That's totally
what did you just buy? A Maserati? Me too. Josh, we talked about Everton's big win on the weekend. They are still just a few points out of the relegation zone. Are they staying up this year?
I think they are. And also, keep in mind, there are a few points outside relegation. I can't talk right now. So, but they're also, the points are pretty close down there. Yeah. So, if they get one more win, they could jump all the way up to, 11th or 12th or something like that. So, it's not it's night and day as far as these teams go. But, yeah, it's pretty close. That's all I'm saying. And plus, we have 34 games. Everyone below us has 35 games. And, a couple above us have 36 games. So, we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. I'm
who are we talking to? Is this Josh, the Everton
right
fan?
Do you like Lampard as a manager?
If he keeps us up,
cool?
Yeah.
One goal. That's it.
Yeah. It's not going to take much to make me like you right now. It's you keep the team in the Premier League. All right, good job. Give you another year.
Make it to the off season and build the team you want and go from there.
Mike,
it's all stressful. All stressful.
Mike, what do you think?
What do I think of what, a Villa?
Yeah,
Villa are squarely sitting right in the middle. I think their goal at this point is just try to finish above 10th if they can. And so much talk around is get to the end of the season and then let Stevie G build the team that he wants. So there's a lot of talk about, does Coutinho stay? because they have both Coutinho and Buendia who could both play that position. Stevie G has come out and said he wants to keep Coutinho. There's other people circling for Coutinho, and so who knows what's going to happen. But the Villa, owners seem to just keep splashing cash and keep, this will be now. Granted, you lose your best player and you lose your manager midway through the season, and they still have the potential to finish higher than they did last year. So like that's not terrible. But a lot of the money they got from Jack Grealish went towards players that weren't making or haven't made the impact that they thought they were. Danny Ings is coming on here late, and like I said, Buendia was a hit, but some of the other choices just didn't go so well. So we'll see. I mean, I'm around for another season for sure because I enjoy watching some of these guys play. But it'll be very interesting to see how different this team is once Stevie G gets the guys that he wants.
Do you think he's a decent manager? Like, do you think he speaks well?
I think personality wise, he's like, you can't have any better. Like he's very open. He's obviously very comfortable in front of the camera after years and years of just doing that.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell what his actual coaching pedigree is versus just like, how good are the players? He's not a Bob Lilly. Like he's not going to like redesign a system to like beat somebody. He definitely has an idea in his mind, but how well that gets communicated and translated to play on the field, I think he relies on his assistants a lot to make that happen. So I like the guy. Like he seems like a good dude, but like I think next year will be the real test of like once he has his players and he can play his system, is he like that good? Or is it another year of like 10th, 11th, 9th place where it's just like, that's where we're at. So
do you think Lilly could do a job in either Villa or Everton?
Listen, I mean, I wouldn't put anything past Lilly. I think Lily's biggest
one training session and then it'd be like, oh no, he's real. Like he's yelling at me. This guy's yelling at me.
That's right. Coutinho's getting pointers from Lily, like telling him where to go and what to do.
Amazing.
Lily's biggest strength
that Lily would have for everyone there. He'll just be like yelling at him, like, "Do you know who you're yelling at right now?" He's like, "I don't know,
Yeah. Well, there's only a few games left, so we'll see, and then we turn the page on this season, the Premier League, and keep watching USL. There hasn't been any more news about the USL championship potentially switching to a fall to spring season to match the Premier League. Now, I believe the Women's Super League is supposed to do that, so it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. I think a lot of eyes will be on that. So, yeah, a lot to watch, a lot to enjoy, a lot of Hounds stuff coming up. Anything else that you guys sort of want to talk about here?
That's all I got.
Just sort of shake your heads.
I mean, what do you think about the Champions League final? Do you think Liverpool, Real Madrid? Do you think that Real Madrid game was insane? I was like, okay, we're playing City. Like I looked at my phone. I was at work. It was 90th minute, and City were up, and they needed to score 2 goals. I looked 90th. Okay, it's done. And then I just refresh it like 2 minutes later, and I was like, holy crap! They scored 2 goals within 2 minutes of each other in stoppage time. Is amazing. But yeah,
I think the bigger question is what do you think, Kev? You're the one that follows Liverpool more closely.
I think the hard part is I think like the likes of Benzema can just decide a game, and like you could plan and you could tacticize and press and do it. But if Benzema's on his game, which right now he is on fire. He could just be unplayable for a night and there's the game. So I think that's why I don't know. I think Real Madrid aren't as good as City, but I think we could like plan for City a little bit better, if that makes any sense. Like how do you plan to stop someone who's just really like you're not going to double mark. I mean, maybe, so I think that's the only worry, but no, I think we're all jazzed up. I mean, Salah tweeted out, revenge time because, 2 years ago we lost to Real Madrid in the final. Salah, got his shoulder dislocated 30 minutes into the game. And so I think a lot of them are still around. So I think this will be, they're gonna be up for it. And I think we're the favorites, but it'll be a really, really good game.
I think I saw somewhere Benzema has 40 goals so far this season.
He's amazing.
It's something ridiculous. But the comparison was that there was a stretch where both Messi and Ronaldo had multiple 50-plus goal seasons. So, incredible as Benzema is right now, to put that in context, it's like, holy crap.
Well, I think the reason why for that was in my mind, I incorrectly wrote off Benzema. I think Benzema's 37. Right. I was like, okay, Ronaldo's gone. He's the only one. Is he really going to? And no, I mean, him and Lewandowski, I think a lot of the narrative shifted once Messi and Ronaldo got a little older and moved to different places. And I think a lot of the narrative shifted of, okay, now it's Mbappe and Haaland's era. And, Lewandowski and Benzema were like, not yet. We'll get golden boots in 37.
Our
plus.
time. This is our time. Go all Goonies on them. Yeah. Well, good. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's what we think. Let us know what you think. Obviously, all eyes, at least in Pittsburgh, are going to be on, for us, are going to be on El Paso this weekend. I predicted that the Pens were going to be out quickly. That does not appear to be the case. So we'll have at least probably a few more games of competing with Penguins playoffs.
I blame you, Michael.
I know. Well, you know what? If the Pens make a deep run and you blame it on me, then so be it. I'll gladly take that blame. No complaints there. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Everyone live who've been adding comments. We've been putting them on the screen. We really, really appreciate it. It's your weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter. We are proudly part of the Beautiful Game Network, which is home to more than 100 volunteer writers and podcasters covering local soccer. Help us all keep doing what we're doing. Head to bgn.fm and click the donate button to help us cover our expenses, and we appreciate all of your support. Thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.